أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توبا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to remove this affliction, this mishap, this bala from the humanity and send to us our Imam alayhi salam, because that is the only outlet, that is the only way out, that this mishap, this bala, that can be removed. If you look into all of these du'as that we have and the time that we are living in, especially in this day and age, when the entire globe has been locked down, no one can travel anywhere. And just before a week or 2 weeks before, we were free, we could do anything, but not anymore. What has happened, what has resulted, and what were the flaws? We don't want to say what was the cause of that, whether it was a manufactured bala or whether it is a natural disaster, but in any case, what we see is that everyone is suffering. One of the questions that is asked, and I'd like to shed some light on that first before we get on to our topic, is regarding the mab'ath of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, which was day before yesterday, and that is the 27th of Rajab. It is recognized in the Urdu-speaking community as Mi'raj. Mi'raj means a journey that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam he had towards the skies. And it isn't as such that it was only one journey that Rasulullah had to the skies. Now we believe, and all of these ahadith that you have heard from the podiums, from the members, that لولاك لما خلقت الأفلاك, if it wasn't for you, the Prophet, I would not have had created anything. So everything has been created for Rasulullah. Or for example, in this Hadith al-Kisa that we recite over there, also it's the same thing. إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية. That is, I created the sun, the moon, the skies, the stars, everything لمحبتكم. That is for the love and for the mahabbat of Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So everything has been created for Rasulullah. Now on the 27th of Rajab, especially the Urdu speaking community, they celebrate it as Mi'raj, and they say that it is the day or the night when Rasulullah he ascends to the skies. Now in a hadith from our sixth Imam, Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Imam says that Rasulullah he had in excess of 200 Mi'raj. Some say 220 Mi'raj, but in any case, it's multiple, it's more than one. Mi'raj, it's like these international trips that an employer, he sends his employees to on special assignments. Such assignments were given to Rasulullah. He has created everything for him, for the Prophet, so he showed him around. So it isn't as such that on the 27th of Mi'raj, that was the only journey that Rasulullah he had to the heavens, to the skies. He had multiple journeys. Now what has happened on the 27th? 27th of Rajab, certified by so many ayat in Quran and also the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, it is Eidullah al-Akbar, the greatest of Allah's Eids. What happens there? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he is officially appointed as the Prophet We believe that a prophet is a prophet fi batni ummeh, even when he is in the womb of his mother. Now on the 27th, officially he is announced as the prophet. And when the surah was revealed that Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, and all those incidents that take place in the cave of Hira. So here we have to give importance to Bi'sat, not to Mi'raj. Now the reason why this Mi'raj has come in is because of the Ahl Sunnah domination in India and in Pakistan. From there, all these things, they came into our deen as well. So we don't want to deny Mi'raj. Here we say that Mi'raj took place. Mi'raj of Rasulullah was Jismani, that is, he in person himself, he embarked on that Buraq and he went to see the skies. They believe that it was the soul of the Prophet. Or sometimes there are different opinions which say that it was a vision, it was the journey of the soul, but we believe that it was he himself in person, it was his material body, and it was his body himself. That Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa alladhi. That is, it was himself who traveled, and that is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. That is one. When you look into the ayat of Quran, also it's the same. It says, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ النَّبِيِّينَ لَمَا آتَيْتُكُمْ. Can everyone turn off your mics, please? Can everyone turn off your mics?
अभी आवाज कम करो
जी, जरा माइक भी बंद कर दें आवाज के साथ.
Sheikh, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, I think a lot of people have their mics on and the back your noise appear very dim.
And there was a button here which used to turn off all the mics. I don't know where it's gone today. Okay. Now, in any case, there are loads of ayat in Quran that talk about the bi'sat of Rasulullah. For example, in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم. That is, he is the one who appointed a prophet from among yourself. Or, for example, إذ أخذ الله ميثاق النبيين لما آتيتكم من كتاب. And then this allegiance has been taken from all of the prophets and from everyone. What is that allegiance? That Allah has sent the book من كتاب وحكمة ثم جاءكم رسول, and then he sent this prophet to you. لما معكم, with those two, that is the book and that wisdom that was given to you. Now, what is your duty? What is my duty? And what is the duty of everyone? لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ, that you must have faith in him. وَلَا تَنْصُرُنَّهُ, and you must help him. So this support system, supporting the Prophet, it's there. And that is the task assigned by Allah to every one of us, that we have to help the Prophet. We have to support the Prophet. And now the Imams after the Prophet, and in this day and age, it is the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam, that we have to support him. We have to help him. And it is that dua we ask Allah Jalla wa Ala every day, in that dua ahd, every fajr, and especially now in this very difficult time that every one of us is facing. Now this is something that was always mentioned in the books that were revealed prior to Quran. الَّذِي يَجِدُونَهُ مَكْتُوبًا عِنْدَهُم. Another ayah says it was written in the books. Which book? In the Tawrat, in Torah, wal Injil, and in the Bible. That this is the Prophet, you have to support him, you have to be with him. Or for example in Surah Saf, there says, وَإِذْ قَالَ عِيسَى ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ يَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ إِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ مِنَ التَّوْرَاتِ. And then their Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he gives the glad tidings. What is that? وَمُبَشِّرًا بِرَسُولٍ يَأْتِي مِنْ بَعْدِي اسْمُهُ أَحْمَدُ. And that is, after me a prophet will emerge, after me a prophet will come, and his name is Ahmad. So this glad tiding was given by all of the prophets and all of the Anbiya. They said that the prophet will be sent, and a prophet will be sent, and his name is Ahmad. Ahmad is the name of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like he's named when he was inquired, Lima summita bi Ahmad. He says that, why have you been named as Ahmad? He says, because I am much more praised in the skies than myself on the earth. So his name in the skies is Ahmad, and on the earth his name is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Now this is regarding Rasulullah and his bi'asat. So 27th of Rajab, it's the bi'asat of Rasulullah that takes place. And Mi'raj is one of the incidents that has taken place, maybe one of the Mi'raj that takes place. It's on the 27th of Rajab. Rasulullah, he was sent to establish a rule, and that rule is based on justice and adl. Now what we see today, we think that it is from the West that democracy and justice and equity has come forth. No. Over here, it's only after the French Revolution we see this democracy and justice and all that. Islam has spoken about this 1400 years ago in Quran and in all the books prior to that. Now this is something that we have, and inshallah, if an opportunity is given to us, we'll talk on this as well. For example, Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, in Nahj al-Balagha, he has mentioned this, that is, لا تكن عبد غيرك وقد جعلك الله حرا. Don't be a slave of another, when Allah has made you free. So that freedom was mentioned by Amirul Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha 1400 years ago. And inshallah we'll talk on this further more on another opportunity. Now, once again, request to turn off your mics. The topic that we have, it's bonding with Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, the time that we are in, there are so many signs that have been mentioned for the return of the Imam alayhi salam. Most of them, they have already taken place. Now, we don't need to go after signs. One of the signs that has been mentioned so much throughout in the ayat and in the riwayat says that you would see that oppression will be filled in the land. Oppression will be filled. Now, is not oppression filled in the land today? In the previous session, it was mentioned that one girl was buried during the time of the Jahiliyyah, and there Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He reveals an ayah and says that بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, that why was she killed? There Allah stands as to avenge and as the ransom for that girl who was killed. Now this day and age, so many people are being killed, hundreds and thousands of people every day. Just glance over the globe and you see how much of an oppression is there. So one of the signs that we see in the end of time and prior to the return of Imam alayhi salam is that oppression will be a lot. So much of zulm will be there, and that is what we see in this day and age. So for that, we need to return to our senses. We need to return to ourselves and correct ourselves. Now, all these days we have taken everything for granted. All these blessings were surplus, were in abundance, and we have a schedule every day to start our day, to end our day. All that rest was there. Freedom was there, peace was there, ease was there, but all of a sudden everything stops. There was a question last week, and one of you had mentioned that, do we have any evidence from Quran that such isolation may have had taken place? Yes, we have numerous incidents that have taken place in Quran, in riwayat, in the history prior to Islam, in the history after Islam. Many incidents are there. I'll just mention one or two over here. For example, there prior to Islam, we've got the story of the Ashab-e-Kahf. Ashab-e-Kahf also, there are those. Now here, Ashab-e-Kahf, some say it's 3 people, and you've heard 2 incidents over here. The ayah says, أَمْ حَسِبْتَ أَنَّ أَصْحَابَ الْكَهْفِ وَالرَّقِيمِ كَانُوا مِنْ آيَاتِنَا عَجَبًا. That is one of those strange and amazing signs of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, is the incident or the story of the companions of the cave. Now the ayah states that more important than the sleeping of these people for 3 centuries or more is the beauty that takes place over here. Now this event, it unfolds after Prophet Isa alayhi salatu wassalam and before the arrival of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam unfolds in Rome. Philadelphia and the Taghut, the dictator of that time, is Daqiyanus. The lessons learned are migration, being staunch and firm, and then getting that divine help from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and which is provided continuously, and this divine help was provided continuously by Allah Jalla wa Ala. Now, what has happened over here in the people of the cave, those who were in that cave, the Ashabul Kahfi wal Raqim, they say that they were good people and they were working to get some halal income, and then to get some rest. They come to a cave and they said, we'll rest here a little bit and then we'll go in search of our sustenance. The three come to rest, and a big boulder, a huge big boulder, it rolls and it blocks the entrance of the cave. Now these three, they are stuck. They cannot get out of that cave. Whatever they do, it is impossible to move that huge mountain-like boulder from the opening of the cave. Now, in all these situations, there is someone who is smart. Now, one of these who was more pious, who was smarter than the others, wise, he says that it seems Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is testing us and He doesn't want us to be together. We need to go in isolation and we need to supplicate with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and then recall whatever action we may have had done in our life that was sincerely for the sake of God, and then there wasn't anyone else, it wasn't to show off to anyone. We bring that action of ours and we present it to Allah, and we tell Him that by that action that was done wholly and solely for you, without any desire and hope from anyone, we want you to forgive us and free us from this cave. Now the first one, he says, he starts supplicating and he recalls his memory and then brings, I have the ability, but now I don't know where that button is gone. It's not here, I can't see it anymore. So the first one, he says that I supplicated, I cried, and all of a sudden I was reminded of this incident. Says that I had a big piece of land, and there I needed some help in irrigating that land in that farm. I hired someone, and the agreement between us was that I will pay him a bucket of rice, a bucket of grain. He accepted, he worked for me all day, and when it was time for me to pay him, he, without notifying me, he went. I kept his bucket of grains aside to give him. He never came. Now what I did was that I grew those grain on a piece of land, and many years passed. And after many years, now this person who had worked for me, he was in need. Now he could find no outlet and he wanted some funds, comes and says to his wife that I worked for that person quite some time ago, I'll go and get some funds from him. That is what I had earned. For example, if it was 100 dinar, whatever it was, that amount, he comes to him and he says that if you remember, I worked for you, that amount, if you could give me, I'm in need now. Now what he does is that he shows him that piece of land, and the cow that is working on that piece of land, says, all of this is yours. He says, it was just a bucket of grains that I that is, I need from you nothing more than that. He says, no, this is yours. The grains that you had given me, I had this piece of land, I grew them, and whatever I got from the income of that, I have set it aside for you, and all of that is yours. Says to Allah, that action I did, no one knew. That was between just me and you. By that action, ease us, release us, free us from this cave. Says the boulder, it moved a little bit, and they could see the opening of the light. Now the second person, he says when he was supplicating and he was weeping and crying, lamenting and repenting, says that I had old parents, I cared for them, I looked after them, I fed them, I nourished them, I cleaned them. Both of them were crippled, very old, paralyzed. I had one goat. I used to milk that goat every day. I come to my parents first, feed them with the milk, and then the remaining of milk I used to take for my wife and my children. Says one day I came to my parents' house and I saw them, both of them are asleep. He says that I didn't want to wake them up. I sat there and I did not want to go to my house, leaving them without feeding them in case if they get up and they are hungry. He says that I sat there until the morning, and when in the morning the mother, she wakes up, parents both, they wake up and say, you've been sleeping here, why did you not go home? He says that I was waiting to give this milk to you and then I would go home. Then he says, God, that action was between me and you and no one knew, and that was only for you so that my parents, they are at ease, they could have some milk. Says that action also was, I think it was without riyah. Says the moment he presents it before God, that boulder, it moves much more, and the opening is bigger now. Now the third person, he says, God, you are aware. I had a cousin. I was fond of her. I always wanted to marry her, but she never accepted. She was in need of 100 dinars, and then the desire to get her was always there. She comes and she offers herself to me and says that just give me that 100 dinar and I can be at your disposal. He worked hard, he availed that money, and then on that day when he comes to meet her, and that gunah, that sin, that wrong could be committed and no one would have found out, she says, don't ruin me. There he says that I gave her the 100 dinar and I did not commit that sin. Says God, it was me and you, and that sin was open for us, and I did not do it only because of you, for you. Says the moment I presented that not doing of that action and that sin not taking place, says the boulder, it fell off the cliff, and all of them were free. So these isolations that we have, they do come across, or many a times Allah, He brings them before us so that we bond with Him, we reconnect with Him. If you recall on the first session, it was mentioned in that hadith from Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, that Imam says that no trial befalls on a believer but that the Almighty Allah, He inspires him to supplicate to Him, and that the bala, the trial, it is removed fast. So a bala has unfolded upon all of us, and we see that everyone has triggered, has moved, has switched towards supplicating a lot. Means that there was a disconnect, or that connection between us and Allah was lost. And Allah, He is reconnecting us with Him by this bala that has unfolded, and He wants us to go back on track. It says that Allah, the Almighty, He inspires him to supplicate to Him, and that bala, the trial, is removed fast. And then He says that no trial befalls on a believer, and he refrains from supplicating, but that bala, it will remain for long. So when a bala befalls on you, it is upon you to supplicate and to plead to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to remove this distress from all of us. Now, one of the other examples that we have in Quran, it's again for the same social boycott that we have now, it's the social distancing. Every store over here, it's shut down. No store is only these grocery stores and these pharmacies. And also you cannot get in there. There has to be the distance that has to be observed. So that social boycott or social distancing that we have, it did exist over there during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, that it did exist even during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. That وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا, that is in the Battle of Tabuk, if you see, there in the Battle of Tabuk there were three who disobeyed Rasulullah. He wanted them to participate in the battle and they all did not participate, and with an excuse that why is it that every day we have to go and be with the Prophet, and it's tiring that we have to participate day in, day out in the battle. So but they did not want to be with the Prophet in that battle, but they said that we'll join you later. And it so happens now, because of the absence of three men here, that is, one is Ka'b bin Malik, the other is Murarad bin Rabi'a, and the third is Hilal bin Umayyah. Due to the absence of these three men in that battle, the Muslims, they sustained a huge blow, a big loss. And when Rasulullah returns with the Muslims, he says to everyone in Medina that no one should have any association with these three men. Now what happens is that the wives of these three men, they come to Rasulullah and they say that, Ya Rasulullah, why don't you divorce us? Says no, that is not required. For now, you just have no connection, no communication. It has to be a social boycott with them three. An ayah is revealed, and the story has been mentioned in Quran, says that وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا حَتَّى إِذَا ضَاقَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَرْضُ. So these three, they did bad. That is, they disobeyed the Prophet. And then they regretted, to the point that the earth closed down upon them. So no people, no one from Medina talks to them, no one speaks to them, no one helps them, no connection whatsoever. So the three of them, they said that this place is no place to live, let's go and repent. So all three of them, they seek refuge in a mountain, they supplicated, and then says, no, so many days passed and nothing has happened, and Allah hasn't accepted their repentance. Now, one of them, who is the smartest among the three, that is Ka'b, he says that it seems that Allah, He does not want us three to be together. We have to split. So they split, and everyone comes to a corner and they repent, they supplicate, they ask Allah to forgive, and 50 days passed. On the 50th day, an ayah is revealed that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He has forgiven them. وَظَنُّوا أَنْ لَا مَلْجَأَ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا إِلَيْهِ ثُمَّ تَابَ عَلَيْهِمْ. And Allah forgave them. لِيَتُوبُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. That is, they repented, and Allah also, He accepts their tawbah. Now, on the 50th day, Rasulullah, with all the Muslims from Medina, they come to the mountain. Here Rasulullah, He embraces them three and says, Allah has forgiven. So this isolation, in a way, it is good. That is, we have to reconnect with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, have all these broken bonds that we had with Allah Jalla wa Ala, all of that be connected. One of the ways to get this connected, as was mentioned in the past two sessions, is that there are so many du'as, so many prescriptions. From the Ma'sumin, there's a book called Sahifa Mahdiya, and you have an English translation of that as well. So it's all of these du'as that have been reported from Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wasalam have been present in that book. And I've seen this book online somewhere, I don't know where. If I find the link, I'll send it to you. It's a beautiful book. And all of these du'as that have been reported from Imam al-Asr alayhi salam have been mentioned there. Now, one of these du'as that is mentioned in this book is the dua that Ayatollah Khamenei gives to Sayyid Hassan, especially in those days of the 33-day war. It's a beautiful, a few phrases, of just in a few phrases. Says, Ya man idha تضايقت الأمور فتح لها بابا لم تذهب إليه الأوهام. O he, then when everything becomes difficult upon us, and all the doors they close upon us, فَتَحَ لَهَا بَابًا, he opens a door, لَمْ تَذْهَبْ إِلَيْهِ الْأَوْهَامِ, no thought, no one's perception can ever go through to that outlet. Says, صَلَّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ, send salawat and salutations upon Muhammad and his progeny. وَافْتَحْ, and open, لِأُمُورِ, for all my tasks, الْمُتَضَايِقَةِ, that are closed and shut, بَابًا, open a door for me, لَمْ يَذْهَبْ إِلَيْهِ وَهْمٌ, that I could never think of. وَهْمٌ يَا أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ, O merciful, O most merciful of the merciful. Ya Baqiyat Allah, Aghithna, that is Baqiyat Allah, Imam al-Asr, help us. Ya Baqiyat Allah, Adrikna, you perceive us. So in this day and age, these du'as have to be there, and with Imam al-Asr, alayhi salatu wassalam, a lot more. One of the du'as that we have is this dua to be recited on Friday. Now in the Sahifa Sajjadiyya, the Psalms of Islam, you've got these 7 du'as for the 7 days. Friday is the day of Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam. Now if you just look into the dua that we have, it's beautiful, very simple. Thereafter, lauding and praising the existence of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, towards the second half of the dua, we say, Allahumma thabbitni ala deenika ma ahyaytani. Allah, keep me firm on this deen of yours as long as you keep me alive. So the first assignment, or the first duty that is assigned to every one of us, especially parents towards their children and children, that la tamutunna wa antum muslimun, that is, you must not die, but that you are a Muslim. That faith of ours, it has to remain. Now here we say that thabbitni ala deenika ma ahyaytani, that Allah, you keep me firm on that deen as long as I'm alive. And then says, وَلَا تُزِغْ قَلْبِي بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنِي, and let not my heart turn after you have guided me. وَهَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً, and bestow on me mercy from you. And repeatedly it was mentioned, mercy is Rasulullah, mercy is Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam, mercy to the worlds, rahmatun lil alameen. Although in the end of time, all these clips and videos and films that are being made, and they are showing the picture and the image of Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam, a negative picture, and there's going to be that bloodshed, etc. There is not going to be a bloodshed by the Imam, through the Imam alayhi salam. Imam is the most kind being and creation of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now even you and me who have children, and we have that love towards our children, or when we want to look after them, care for them, many a times it is that instinct that is given to us by Allah, and that instinct can be seen even in animals. The love, the care, the bond, the mahabbats that Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam has towards the mu'mineen in particular, is thousands of times more than what a father, a mother has towards his child. That is Imam al-Asr alayhi salam, the Imam who we have, the Imam who we are waiting for. So Imam is the kindest and the most Ra'uf, the most caring of all the creation that we have. In one of these du'as, which is reported from Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, in this day and age in particular, it is to be recited. That is when all this pandemic unfolds and everyone is suffering. Thousands of people are dying every day. Says, Ya Ra'uf Ya Rahim. Ra'uf means kind. Rahim means compassionate, merciful. Says, repeat that a lot. Ya Ra'uf Ya Rahim. Ya Ra'uf Ya Rahim. One of the other du'as, again we see that reported from Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, and the mystics, they give particular importance to that. There they say that Allahumma ja'alni fi dir'ika al-hasina allati taj'alu fiha man turid. That Allah, you place me in your fort. Dir' means the armor that a soldier wears, or the fort, you can say. That fi dir'ika al-hasina, Allah, keep me in your protected fort. Allati taj'alu fiha man turid. That is, who you love, you place them in there. So Allah, keep me in your fortress. Allah, keep me with you. Allah, keep me in your protection. And then we say, وَهَبْلِي مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً. And Allah, grant us mercy from you. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابُ. Now in that same dua towards the end, that is dua of Friday, there says that وَصَلَّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. That is salutations upon them. وَجَعَلْنِي مِنْ أَتْبَاعِهِ وَأَشْيَاعِهِ. That is, Allah, make me among one of the followers and one of the Shias of Imam al-Asr alayhi salam. وَاحْشُرْنِي فِي زُمْرَتِهِ. And gather me in his circle. وَوَفِّقْنِي لِأَدَاءِ فَرْضِ الْجُمُعَاتِ. And Allah, give me that opportunity that I fulfill all of these assignments that are there for Friday. Friday is the day of Imam al-Asr. Now, did we notice that there is no more news of gold, silver, oil, stocks rising? In fact, here, it's the fuel prices, they have dropped by 45 cents in the past 7-8 days. So everything is collapsing, falling. No more international conferences on all these different charters of the UN 2030 agenda, etc. Did we notice that Al Saud, la'natullahi alayhim, they do not attack the Yemenis anymore? All celebrities, they are grounded. The rich and the poor, they are equal now. Everyone is isolated. All these first world, sophisticated and advanced nations, their reality is seen when you go to stores, and what a panic, a havoc has been created. So the word of the world every moment, every second is Corona, Corona. And all worldly sciences, every science is speechless before this. Now friends, the reality is Allah's might. And this is how He breaks every equation. Now when we see these wealthy, these rich who were ruling this earth, they also are speechless over that. For mu'mineen, Allah says, فَاللَّهُ خَيْرٌ حَافِظًا وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. He is the best protector. He will save you. Many a times these questions, they are brought forth, that how come these prophecies of Nostradamus, for example, or how come all of these future telling that we have, they have been mentioned, and how precise they are. This also, it was mentioned in one of the talks long ago, that we have in Ayatul Kursi, there it says that Allahu waliyyul ladhina amanu. Allah is the custodian of the believers. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتِ. And the faithless, their custodian are the Taghut, or their custodian is Iblis. Many a times they say that it's these intelligence services who have created all that and how precise and how accurate they can be. Answer to that is also simple. When it is awliyaullah on one hand, and you have awliyaut taghut or awliyaul shaitan on the other hand, when you go to these awliyaullah and you see that how much mutma'in they are, tranquility is there, they are safe, they give you a word, a statement, and you see it happens as they have said. And over here also, awliya shaitan, they do and they say and they are very precise. The reason for that is they get their support and their information from Iblis. Iblis is someone who has worshipped for 6,000 years. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, you don't know 6,000 years of this dunya or the 6,000 years of akhirah. 6,000 years of akhirah every day equals 50,000 alf sana, 50,000 years. Every day is 50,000 years. So if that much of worship and in the highest zones, so he says that I've got the secrets of this dunya and the skies. I know all the secrets. So he knows the secrets, and those who serve Iblis the most obedient to him, he gives that information to them, and they know and they can reveal and they can tell what is going to happen. On the contrary, awliyaullah who are connected to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, they work on the other hand. There's a book called Nishan Azbi Nishan Ha. It's in 2 volumes, it's in Farsi. I think it's been translated into Arabic and Urdu. You have it online, and it's the biography of Marhum Ayatollah Sheikh Hassan Ali Isfahani, who passed away about 70, 80 years ago. A very great alim. He's been buried in Mashhad across the golden arch of Imam Riza alayhi salatu wassalam. A young man, he comes to him and says that I've got 3 problems in my life. I've got 3 locks in my life, or 3 dead ends, and I want all of them to open. Now, it was mentioned that it's this isolation that we have, and the reason why these tough times they come across before us is that Allah, He wants to correct us. He wants to put us back on track. All these observances that we have, that is the month of Sha'ban, the month of Rajab, the month of Ramadan, are opportunities that the merciful God, He gives us all to correct ourselves. It's like you throwing seeds before these birds, and you see all these birds, they come and they get those seeds from you. So observances also are the same, that seeds that are being thrown by God, that He wants us to be attracted to Him. He says that this young lad comes and says to this Marhum Ayatollah that I've got 3 dead ends in my life, 3 locks, and I want you to help me open these locks in my life. Says, what are they? Says, the first one, I'm looking for a spouse and I want to get married and I want to have a successful marriage. Second, I want to have a blessed job, a job that has barakat. And third, I want to have a good end, that is aqibat bikhair. I want to die on Iman, successful and prosperous. In reply, Ayatollah Sheikh Hassan Ali, he says, for the first problem of yours, or for the first lock of yours, the answer is offer on-time prayers. Prayers to be offered dot on time, when it is the time of fadila. When the time has entered, you offer your prayers. Be prepared before the time comes. Offer it when it is time for namaz. For the second problem, that you want a job with a blessed income and mubarak, says the answer to that is offer on-time prayers at the time of fadila. And for the third problem and third lock, again, on-time prayers. Now this young man, he says that for all 3 of them, you've given the same prescription that to offer the prayers on time. In reply, he says, yes, on time prayers is the master key for every dead end. We have so many riwayat, so many teachings from Ma'sumin, that someone who offers prayers on time, he never gets stuck. He finds a way out. That is the barakat of salat, of namaz. Now, in a hadith from Imam al-Asr alayhi salam, Imam says someone who doesn't offer his prayers on time is mal'oon. Mal'oon means who is banished from the special mercy of Allah Jalla wa'ala. Now this great alim, marhum Ayatullah Shaykh Hassan Ali Isfahani rahmatullahi alayhi, one of the other maraji taqleed that we had in the 1950s is Ayatullah al-Uzma Brujardi. Our parents, definitely our grandparents, they must have been in his taqleed. He was the whole sole authority, the only marja of that time. He used to come to the majalis of Ayatullah Hassan Ali Isfahani. One day he says that what is so special in your majlis, when you recite in your podium, in your sermons, what is so special? That everyone is attracted to your sermons, everyone benefits. And I, who is that, with this rank that Allah has given to me, I also am attracted to these majalis of yours. And Ayatullah Burujardi says that I want to know the secret. What is special in your majlis? What has been bestowed to you? He doesn't reply. Says he emphasizes, forces him, says that I want to know. In reply, marhum Ayatullah Shaykh Hassan Ali Isfahani says, I went to Samirra to pay a visit to Imam Askari and Imam Hadi alayhim as-salam. That is the father of Imam al-Asr, and the other is the grandfather of Imam al-Asr. And there we have Halima and also Hazrat Narjas Khatun, the mother and the aunt of Imam al-Asr alayhim as-salam, buried in Samirra. He says it was a Thursday night, and the sacred shrine in those days, it was locked and locked. That is, the guards or the security of the haram was with the Ahlus Sunnah. And in those days, they used to lock the haram at midnight, open again before Fajr. He says, I come on a Thursday night and I give a lot of money to that gatekeeper, to the guard. And I told him, lock me in the haram and you can go home, and I just want to stay here tonight in the sacred shrine. He took the money and he locked the haram and he left. Now, it was past midnight. Marhum Shaykh Hassan Ali, he says that I sat on the rug of the haram of Imam Askari facing the Dari. Now the Arabs over here, they have got two adab, two etiquettes. One is that if an Arab, he invites you and he is the host, you are the guest for a meal. If you go to his table and there you don't eat, it is an insult to the host. He says, I won't eat. If I eat, I will eat only if you fulfill this grant and this wish of mine, I'll eat. And if the host had the capacity and the ability to feed you or to fulfill that wish and desire of yours, and if he doesn't, he's been disgraced and it's an insult to him. They have another adab, they have another etiquette, and that is the Arabs, if someone goes to the father of your host and sits on his rug in his house, and then he says that if you do not fulfill this wish of mine, says that they believe if he has the capacity and ability to fulfill your wish and your desire, and if he doesn't, that is a disgrace to the father of that person who you have requested for help. Shaykh Hassan Ali, he comes and he sits on that rug facing the zari of Imam alayhi salam, that is Imam Hadi and Imam Askari alayhi salam. There he says that Imam al-Asr, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, I am sitting in your parents' house and on the rug of your father. And my wish is, if my wish is not granted, God forbid, that's going to be a disrespect to your parents. Now what is that wish? Ma asto bighayr asto nadarin tamanna. What we want from you is you yourself, Ya Imam. He says, my wish is, my hajat is to see you. That is my desire. He says that an hour before Maghrib, that is from the door facing the Qibla, I see the Imam emerge. The Imam come to me. Says it was like a luminant sun, the sublime visage. And then says, Agha, he entered the sacred shrine from the Qibla. Such beauty, such greatness, which is beyond description. Says, I shook and I was shaken at the beauty and the greatness of this Imam, such that I froze and I could not move from my place. Says, I could not greet him. He came to me. He smiled at me. He greeted me with the salam. Shaking and shivering, I responded to his salam. He said to me, what do you want? He says, by the honor of the Imam says that by the honor of this rug of my father and my parents' home, what do you want? Whatever you desire will be granted to you. Shaykh, he says that I burst into tears and I cried and I said, I want your well-being, Yabna Rasulullah, and nothing else do I want. Says for the second time again, he repeated, what do you want? I also said, nothing, I just want your well-being and nothing else. He said, and he asked me for the third time, that is, I will give you by the sign, that is for the third time, Imam asked him the same reply, that I don't want anything, it's only the well-being of yours that I am after. He said, ask me, I will give you by the sanctity of the ziyarat of my grandfather and my father and my mother, whatever you want I will give. And then when he says that I said the same reply, that I want your well-being, Imam said to me that you don't know how to ask from someone who is kareem, someone who is generous. You did not ask, but I being a kareem, because Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they only give. They give without any desire of a payback. Someone who has served the Imam alayhi salam, someone who has served the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they never leave them stranded ever. Now that service could be anything. There he says that although you did not ask me, I will give you ilm, I will give you knowledge. Now, the reason why we see all these problems that have unfolded, over here, a fault that we see is the fault of the podiums, fault of the mimbar, fault of the orators who have that capacity, that ability to bond people to the ma'asumeen, and they don't bond. They are at fault. People at large, they are not at fault. They need to be taught. They need to be educated. They need to be said, this is how you come to the ma'asumeen. They are the outlet in every dead end. In every problem, they are the outlet. Our Ustad in Akhlaq, Marhoom, Ayatollah Uzma Mishkini, he has a book called Misbahul Munir. And it's a compilation of all the du'as in a very beautiful, simple Farsi translation. He used to say, and he has also mentioned this in his book, that sometimes what you do is that you approach the ma'asumeen. Nowadays, everything is shut. Misbahul Munir. These days, all the shrines, they are shut. Traveling, we don't know how long this is going to take place. He used to say that what you can do is that you can make a grave-like structure. You and yourself, all alone in your own time, recite the Ziyarat Aminullah, addressing that Imam Ma'soom. And you've got the grave of the Ma'soom that you have visualized before you. You recite that Ziyarat and place your head on that grave or that resemblance of that grave that you have made. You cry and you seek the Imam and you ask for whatsoever you want. In this day and age that everything is closed, what we can do is that in our own time, just all alone, we can have our prayer mat spread out. We can make that little structure of the grave of the Imam and then talk to our Imam, to our master. We can tell him that we are sitting on this rug of your father, house of your mother. Because when you look into these ziyarat, there are two things that you can do. First of all, with my material self, I can be in one place. I can be here where I am. If I want, I can be in Karbala. Only with my material body. If I'm in Karbala, in Najaf, I'm not in Karbala. So in one place I can be. But in your thoughts, in your mind, in your niyats, you can be anywhere. That is what we read in all these ziyarat. Ya laytana kunna ma'akum. We wish we were with you, Ya Rasulullah. Although there is this passage of time, 1,300 years from Karbala till now, but when we say Ya laytana kunna ma'akum, we wish we were with you, in reality you are there. In other riwayat it says that someone who wants to be with us is with us. There is another incident here that takes place in the 600 centuries ago, 600 years ago. Marhum Majlisi has reported this in Bihar. Says that Muhyiddin Irbihi, a father and a son, they were traveling, and amidst their journey, they meet someone. He was traveling from Baghdad to Misr, to Egypt. And in the cafeteria, they meet someone, and this person, he was sleeping, he had dozed off. Amidst his sleep, his amama, his turban, it moved, it fell off. And they see there's a big scar on his head. When he woke up, the father and the son, they ask him, that what happened to your head? Why is that wound? What is that scar? In reply, he says, I got wounded in the battle of Siffin when I was supporting Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam. The father and the son, they start laughing. Says, Battle of Siffin? That was so many centuries ago, 3-4 centuries ago. How come you were in the Battle of Siffin? He says, listen to my story. Says, I was traveling from Iraq to Misr, and on my way, I was all alone. I met someone. And then when we were talking to each other, and I found out that he is a Nasibi, someone who has this hate and disgust of the Ma'asumeen in his heart. He said to me that if I was in the Battle of Siffin, I would have quenched the thirst of my sword with the blood of Ali and his companions. He says, I also said to him that if I was in the Battle of Siffin, I would have quenched the thirst of my sword with the blood of Muawiyah and his associates, his companions. Says there was a heated debate between the two of us, and the last thing I remember is that a blow on my head. And after that, I don't remember anything. I just fell off. Says, when I woke up, I see that I am in the lap of someone. And he's got his kind hand all the way from my feet, waving, blessing me, comes to my head. Says, that was the lap of Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam. And Imam said to me, you've been healed, you've been cured. All the wounds on your body have been cured. But this one wound, it will remain on your head. And whosoever asks you, where did you get hurt? Where did you get wounded? Tell them I was in the battle of Siffin, supporting Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. I got wounded. Says, that is the deen that we have. That is, you desire to be with them, you are with them. When we sit on our prayer mat and we assume that this is the haram of Imam Askari alayhi salam, and we've got the pure grave of his father and his grandfather, his mother visualized before us, and we sincerely ask, will he not reply? Will he not respond to what you want? We have an Imam so kind. We have an Imam so compassionate. We have an Imam so gracious. That says that he looks at you 100 times every day. Before you ask for what you want, he gives it to you. Now, in this tough time that we are in, this broken connection needs to be bonded with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, with the Ma'asumeen alayhim as-salam. And we have a lot of time nowadays, nothing to do, no outdoors, no shopping, no work. So all these broken ties can be fixed. Everything can be fixed, and inshallah, by the du'as of mu'mineen, because وَالسِّلَاحُهُ الْبُكَاء, in that dua, Kumail says, that is, the weapon of a mu'min is buka, is crying. These tears need to be shed. Eyes have been created to cry due to the fear of God, to cry for the Ma'asumeen alayhim as-salam. And inshallah, by the du'as of mu'mineen, there says that if the person who is praying is a sinner and his du'as do not ascend, someone present in that congregation, if his heart breaks and he says Ameen, as a result of the dua of that Ameen of that person, du'as of everyone, they are accepted. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala help us in this difficult time. Help us bond with Imam al-Asr alayhi salam. Help us correct all those broken connections between us, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, with Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Allah, the wrong that we have done, we sincerely repent. Ya Allah, those of us who have passed away, Allah forgive them, elevate their ranks. Our children to be enlisted among the best of Muslims, among the best of supporters of Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma arini at-tal'at al-rashida wal-ghurrat al-hamida واكحل ناظري بنظرة مني إليه وعجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه. Allah hasten in his return and count us all among the best of his servants and those who seek shahadat in his service. وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل